Arsenal came up against Brighton this weekend, yesterday actually, and Brighton running away with it against Arsenal, 3-0. Winners in the end. What did you make of that game? And then obviously we'll get on to our discussion, which is going to be about the title race and Arsenal in particular. But firstly, what did you think of the game?
I was just sluggish. Just like there just seemed like there just wasn't a lack of urgency. Like we didn't play like a team who could win a league title, and it was just like coasting. It's the way I think Arsenal would perform if there's nothing on the line. You know, just pass it around a bit. Not, you know, every now and then we'll get an attack together. Nothing clear cut. Jesus had a poor game, I thought. I think Martinelli going off early was a real bad thing for our performance. I think that is Trossard's worst game in an Arsenal shirt. Whether or not I think he was trying too much because he was playing against Brighton, I think that might have got into his head a bit. I think the midfield is nearly non-existent. Jorginho, again, not good, but Partey came in for him in the second half, and he was shocking. Partey, genuinely, in the last month, has just been a shade of the player he's been all season. He's been one of the best midfielders in the league, and then post-Anfield, he's been our worst player, other than Rob Holding probably. But it's just poor. Ben White, I'm not going to critique him too much. He's coming up against Matoma. At least he looked like he was putting in some efforts. I mean, all over the pitch, it was just a bit of it was just not good enough. Really, just not good enough. Just lackadaisical, just no energy, no fight. And it really annoys me when, you know, the full-time whistle goes and the players are on their knees, just like against Southampton. Because I go, you know, oh, if you're that gutted, where was that fight when we went 1-0 down? Because after going 1-0 down, I can't remember us creating a great chance, and that chance not being just a player running through and shooting like Nelson did. Nothing like no balls going in the box, no intricate plays, just nothing. It's just, and the worst part is Arteta came out of the game and apologised to the fans. And that, if there's a time to apologise to the fans, it's when it's his fault, and that's not his fault. This result is not his fault. You know, the players on the pitch, go do it. They did that exact team, bar taking out Zinchenko and bringing in Tierney, won last week at Newcastle. Why can't they do that? Why can't they put a performance like that? Last week we were phenomenal. It's one of my favourite games of the season last week, and this is probably our worst performance of the season. And you know, you can't expect to win a league title if you drop 5 points out of 7 in your final 10 games.
Mm-hmm. I think with this game, I think the goals really came out of absolutely nowhere, I want to say, because I spoke to you, we watched it together, I said to you in the first half, I think this game is 0-0 written all over it, all of the players just in the middle of the pitch. Brighton, it was a case of the commentators going, oh, Brighton are dominating here, but it was just they were holding on to the ball.
Brighton had the ball more than us. I think in the first half there were a few moments where we could have scored. Nothing really. Saka had a chance at the end of the first half, but then second half, you know, their first goal comes from, you know, a cross getting blocked, and then they just whip it back in the exact same place. And I'll be honest, there is a part of me which thinks it shouldn't stand, because Kivior is marking him, and Kivior is, well, let's be honest, towering over Enciso, and Evan Ferguson, while trying to block another player, like, I don't know if it's completely unintentional, but him interacting with Kivior has tripped Kivior up, put Kivior on the floor, and he's put the ball in. And if you don't think that should be tampered with, and it's a bit too precise, it's a bit too looking to avoid goals, I've seen Arsenal get goals ruled out like that. I remember at Leicester, where they zoomed in on a camera angle they've never done before to see if Ben White had his hand on the goalkeeper's glove, despite 10 seconds later a goal happening, and it not even being involved in the goal. And yeah, but the second goal is just poor. I've seen people mock Ramsdale for it. It's not his fault. What do you expect the keeper to do? Not jump? Do you expect him to just stand still? No, he's got to set himself. He's got to try and leap for it, and he flaps it. But of course, because what else can you do? It's above him. You know, it's not his fault. It's completely Trossard's fault. And the third goal, again, I'm not. You know, maybe Ramsdale can do a bit better. Maybe he can do better. But at the same time, you know, when a keeper makes a save, you want your defenders to follow in, and they didn't follow in, and it's just poor. It's just poor. And I'll be honest, I have enjoyed seasons where we're not playing for anything more. I missed 2014-15 when we finished third, and I enjoyed watching Arsenal more.
Yeah, it's a sort of a tough result to take, I'm sure, because it wasn't we've seen Arsenal this season. Even Gary Neville was saying it on commentary yesterday. Arsenal have played the best football in the league this season, arguably, or definitely one of the, if really challenging City for the best football played, and you were not the same side in this game. And I think this leads us onto the discussion we're going to have for today's episode around Arsenal. I know we talked about Arsenal bottling it a couple of weeks ago or whatever, but we have to talk about it. I've got a couple of stats about this season for Arsenal. Here on the 1st of January, Arsenal had 43 points. No one in the Premier League history had failed to win the title from that point, and they're currently second. This Arsenal side has spent more time at the top of the table than any club in Premier League history, apparently, and have spent about 93% of this season on top. It's not looking like they're going to win the title now. And only 17 teams in Premier League history have previously earned more than 80 points after 35 games. Only 3 of them have failed to win the league previously, being Man United in 11-12 on 83, 18-19 Liverpool on 88, and 21-22 Liverpool on 83. And it looks like Arsenal are going to join that list.
What unites all 3 of those teams? Who are they competing against?
Manchester City.
And look, I don't want to... This is going to be 1 second of talk, but can I just reel your mind back to February, when that tweet came out by a certain journalist? I can't wait until a year's time where this league title has an asterisk on Man City's name. And, because we all know what's going on. Yeah. We all do know how Man City are doing this. We all know it. We all know. Yeah. We've earned our money fair square, fairly. So have you. All this. But we know they've earned their money, but they're spending it in the wrong ways, and they're not spending it legally. We do know that to be fact. And I just can't wait until we're no longer labelled bottlers and labelled as, treated completely unfairly. Because any other league season against any other team in the history of English football, we win the title. I
think this discussion, rather than being about what's happened with Arsenal, I think it should be really a conversation of where Arsenal go next from here, rather than that. I know you've been saying most of the season to me, you've probably said it on the podcast as well, that if Arsenal win the league this season, or if they had won the league this season, you don't think they would challenge next season? No,
because I think if we won the league, I'd want us to focus on the Champions League, because it's this has been done, and the league is actually harder to win than the Champions League, I think, in terms of being consistent week in, week out. You look at the teams that have won the Champions League, traditionally they've not won the title. Yeah. Traditionally. Yeah. Maybe that's not going to be the case this season, but financial doping is a wonder. But with us next season, I'd love us to challenge again, but that pressure's... Unlike this season, where the pressure to win the league hasn't been there, I'd argue the pressure wasn't even there until January. I'd argue after we beat United, that's when it was really, okay, right, we actually have a chance now. Because people doubted us. And next season, it's going to be there from the get-go. So it's how we respond to that. And do we accept the challenge, or do we bottle it and just accept that we might just finish top 4?
Do you see yourselves challenging for the title next season? Do you see that right now?
I mean, yeah, because I don't see anyone else. We're the most likely, I think. I don't think Newcastle are quite ready. No. I don't think they are. Man United, I still have so many doubts about Man United, and I still think certain positions need to be filled, and there's questions over whether or not they do.
I think with Man United, it is purely a case of who we bring in.
I can't judge Man United until the transfer window's over. With us, I expect us to challenge, but I'm not going to be hopeful of the title until I see our window, because, you can't win the league needing your first 11 to play every week, because you can't expect that. Our first 11's only played 6 times this season, which is extremely low. And you want it to be more, but you can't rely on that. And personally, I think we need massive reinforcements. I think Kivior's been good since he's come in, but we need another centre back. We need another centre back to come in. Maybe another fullback. We've been looking at, I think, Simikan from Leipzig. He can fill both options. That kind of works out. We're linked with Rice, linked with Caicedo. I think both of them would be perfect. I don't think we get both of them. I think we're more likely to get Rice, which I'd love. But we need 2 midfielders and hopefully a winger because Saka just doesn't have a backup, really.
Well,
And it looks like Nelson's going to go on a free to Brighton probably. That seems like a good suitor, but we just need massive reinforcements. And the thing is that there's this obsession with fans on Twitter and whatnot, going, oh, I don't really want to sign a big player, to replace. I'm like, no, because at the top, you need players as good as each other competing for the same spot. You look at City, Mahrez does not start every week, but he's okay with it 'cause he's playing in an amazing team. That's ideally what you want. I mean, you look at Arsenal, I think, historically, with like the Invincibles, like Kanu was an amazing player. He settled for the bench for basically his entire career at Arsenal because he had to. And, it's players like that. And we need quality depth. And the issue is we're not going to even be capable of getting it to City standard because we're not capable of doing that. And the way the market's inflated now, we can probably only make 2 marquee signings in terms of price and then try and be clever beyond that.
I would say a large proportion of your issue this season is a lack of depth. And a lack of obviously players are going to get injured, but when Saliba was gone and you were playing Rob Holding, that the difference between those 2 players is massive.
We've conceded over 40 goals this season, and I think someone said until we played obviously Brighton where we conceded, but our record of goals conceded, nearly a third of the goals we've conceded this season happened in the run where Holding was starting games.
Yeah,
we even in the games we won, we conceded late on stupid goals to Palace and Leeds, and then conceding 2 to Liverpool, and also getting lucky that they missed the penalty in that game. Conceding 2 against West Ham, conceding 3 at home to Southampton, and I fully expect him to be sold in the summer. I don't see a reason that he should be staying on any longer. And it's just where we go from here because we just the players need to brush themselves off and just go, look, we've had a good season, try and do it again because it's not Arteta's fault. I think Arteta was ready for a title challenge. I don't think the players were. I think that's my final. So
well, fair enough. I think you mentioned Holding potentially leaving in the summer. Do you think anyone else is going to be on their way out? In the starting 11, do you think anyone will be on their way out?
I don't think anyone's definitely on their way out. If I could, I'd get rid of Thomas Partey immediately.
100%?
100%. Because there's no signs that we're going to try and negotiate a new deal with him. It's out in 2 years. We signed Jorginho in January, and they're very similar age profile. And with Thomas Partey, I think his performances in the run-in are near enough just non-excusable. It reminds me of Guendouzi when he was playing poorly, and that was when he was 19. This is a 30-year-old seasoned professional, and it's just not good enough. And the athleticism is just Fabinho was one of the best DMs in the league, and then suddenly just dropped off and has been poor. It's the same with Partey, and I think he's been absolutely awful in the closing end of the season. And I'd want to get rid of him and also bring in, a fresh face like Declan Rice, who I think can really, really help us go into next season. And beyond that, I think our starting 11 is pretty good with our best 11. Obviously, add to it, bring more competition on, the wings, in midfield, at fullback. We're probably going to sell Tierney. And one thing I would like is I'd like more competition up front because Jesus, as good as he is, at the end of the season, all I'm going to do is look back and go, how many times did he miss a good chance? He's missed so many big chances this season, and if you want to win the league, you need someone who's going to put the ball in the net, and he's not going to do that. And if we have someone who, because it's not like there's someone who can't do what he does and also score goals. So, if we can do that, maybe that could be the difference.
Just to round off, I think we've pretty much covered all bases. Bases here?
Basis.
Yeah.
Bases.
I don't know what came out of my mouth then. Just to end off, how do you see next season going for Arsenal?
I don't know. I really don't know. On the one hand, maybe it's not going to be the same as this season. We're not going to be top for the entire. That's not going to happen. No clue. Because then you've also got the Champions League, and I have no idea how we're going to do in the Champions League. Don't even know how our group's going to be. You can't judge it this early. Do I expect us to finish? I expect us to finish top 3. I'll say top 3, and hopefully we're in the title race again. Hopefully, but we're going to need a miracle to beat City. You look at Liverpool. 3 times they've taken them to the final day on 90+ points and not won the league. The one time they won the league, Laporte got injured in August, and they had to pay Fernandinho and at centre back for almost the entire season.
Yeah.
That's how Liverpool won the league. That wasn't a title race. And then what do they do immediately? They spend 100 million on Diaz and Ake immediately, and look, they win the league at a canter again. So that's what you're fighting with. You need luck to go on your side to beat City. I know people say you need luck to win a cup. You need to be consistent to win the league. Not anymore. You need luck to beat Man City, because this is a team that's just won 11 in a row, and that's just how it is.